through for lesson 1.8. We did this one after 1.1, but before 1.2, so there's a few things in here that we will kind of skip over, but that's okay. All right, so the link and lift should bring you here. You click on this lesson thing right here. That'll get you into the lesson part. This is what we did in class. The idea for this first thing is to just try all these tools and use the undo button, which is right there. So here we go. I'm just going to click a few times, make a few points, and see what sorts of stuff we can do. There we go. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm just going to pick some points. So A to E, that's a line, right? Keeps going both directions. The segment tool, let's go F to D, right? And the ray tool, right? That goes one direction only. So like E to B and keeps going, right? Always start with the end. You'll notice that every time that you click on one of these things, it'll give you the directions down the bottom. So the circle with center through, that's kind of a weird thing. Basically, you click a center point and then you decide what the radius is going to be. So I click here, and I'm not dragging, I'm just moving my mouse, okay? I'm not actually like holding down the mouse while I'm doing this. And then you just click another point, and that sets the radius, okay? The compass tool is the one that we'll more often use. That one is for making circles, and it sets the radius first, and then you decide the center point. So if I say that F to C was going to be my radius, so then it sets the size, right? Okay, and then if I decide I was going to put it on point B, then great. Then I click on point B and it sets that. Okay. The polygon tool, pretty straightforward. You just click on the points that you want to use to make your polygon. A polygon is just a shape with all straight edges for sides. And it won't stop until you click back on your original point, and then it closes it out. Okay. The text tool down here, you just click on that, and you say, okay, I'm going to put something right here, and it says, what do you want to put there? I'm just going to type hello, and I hit OK, and there's hello. Now, if I don't like where that is, I can grab the move tool, and I can just move it around, and I can be like, oh, there we go, ta-da. Okay, so then we have, let's see, the point on object tool. So the point on object tool, it's basically creates a point, but it's linked to the object. So if I wanted to put a point like right here on this line, I could click there, and there's my point. And it's connected to J. So if I try to move it, you see I can't move it sideways. I can slide it up and down this line, but it's connected to the line. All right. Okay, now the Move Graphics tool. This one is kind of like if you think about this rectangle as a window and this piece of paper is underneath it moving around. This moves the paper around so that you can keep stuff in there. Sometimes people they'll accidentally like grab on and they'll like move it and they'll be like, I'm lost, I can't find anything, where is everything, it's all gone, all my work's gone. Well, you just you pushed it off somewhere and it's not there anymore, and you're like, oh my God. So you just have to figure out what you did and move it back. Now you can do the undo here, like go back, right? And then you're back to where you were. Also, you can do redos and undos. Okay. All right. So let's see, the show hide object, that's pretty self-explanatory. If I want to hide this polygon, I click on it and it fades it a little bit. It doesn't make it disappear completely, but it fades it. Same thing with like the hello, right? And I can of course show it again by clicking on it again. Okay, but I have to be using the show hide tool to do that. The show hide label tool, this one you click on a point or anything, and it will hide the letter label that goes with it. Okay. All right, now the delete, it looks like an eraser. It's not an eraser in the sense that you like scrub with it. All you do is click the object and then the whole object disappears. So if I just click right here, this whole polygon, poof, gone, right? But same thing with the hello, poof, gone, right? But maybe I didn't mean to do that. So I just hit the undo and I go back a couple spaces and a couple steps. All right, coolio. We are not going to deal with this main menu thing. Don't mess with it. All right. So which of these tools, the question here is which of these tools do the same work as a straight edge? Well, what is a straight edge? A straight edge is like, I don't know, the edge of a 3x5 card or a ruler or, whatever, right? So which of these are the things that do the same thing as a straight edge if you were drawing in real life? Well, obviously the line, the segment, and the ray, right? Line, a segment, an array, right? I guess technically the polygon is also used for, helps you with doing straight edge stuff. So technically I guess that's right too. All right, next one. Here we're thinking about the tools that we use to make these points. So the A point, we're going to grab onto the A point and watch what happens. Oh, we can move it anywhere. It's not attached to anything, right? This point was just made with the point tool. It happened to be sitting on this line. Okay. All right. If I look at B, look. Oh, it didn't move off. It only moves along the line. Which tool was that? Yeah, that was the point on object tool. So that one right there. Oh, I forgot to do this one. Let's see here. Forgot to do one thing. So the intersect tool, we skipped over that. The intersect tool is for any place where two things cross, like the intersection between ray EB and the circle centered at B. I can put the tip of the finger right there and click, and it gives me a point. Okay? Or I can say that the intersection of this line segment FD and circle H. Oops. There you go. Okay, so there we go. Now if I move I, look at what happens to L. It stays with that intersection, right? It's locked into wherever that cross is. Right, wherever it crosses that line, it's good. Line segment, that circle, it's going to stay there. All right. Okay, cool. So now let's go back down here. So we look at this, right? And B obviously was made with the point on object tool. The C I can't move it. It's attached to that intersection point. But if I move line F, look, point C follows along with that intersection. Right? Notice that I can, slide line F sideways, right? And again, if I move G, it moves and it follows the intersection. Okay, here we go. So that basically, we look at this and we talk about how the tools work compared to the points, how the points move. Okay. We're not dealing with the algebra stuff here on the left. Don't worry about it. Okay. There are several ways to use a compass tool. Use the applet below, meaning this thing, the applet. So first set up a workspace that looks something like this image. I'm going to start with a bunch of points. Point A, point B, point C, point D, and point E. Something like that. Okay. Now I'm going to create a circle using the compass. I'm going to use AB as my radius. So I click on A, I click on B. Now I have this circle, and I'm going to set that right, boom, on A. I'm going to take my segment tool, and that's going to give me this CD thing here, CD, right? And now I'm good to go. Everything should look pretty much the same as what's down there. All right, down here it says draw a circle through A. Okay, we already did that. Select the compass tool and click on segment CD. What happens? Okay, so click the compass tool. If I click on C and then D, we know that it's going to give me that radius, right? CD is the radius. Okay. If I put it on D, the center D, C is on the edge. If I put it on C, D is on the edge, right? That's what it gives me. It gives me a circle with a radius of CD. Okay. So that was the answer to that question. Now click on point E. What happens? Well, all right, let's go back up here. I haven't clicked on anything yet. All right, I'm going to click on E. Boom. What happens? Well, it locks it in, and E is now the center of our circle. That's what the answer is there. Now it asks us to make a new segment EF that is the same length as CD. Now, there is no point F, but it has to go EF. Now, if we know that this circle here used this as a radius, that means that the distance between here and the edge of our circle is exactly the same as from C to D. So I'm going to use the point on object tool, and I'm going to put a point F out there, and then I'm going to make a line segment that's exactly that long. Now, these two line segments better be exactly the same length, because this circle right here and this line segment, right, this circle right here has a radius that is this line segment long, and this EF is the same, is a radius for this circle. So it has to be the same length as CD. All right, coolio. How is, now make a circle with the same radius as the circle centered at A. Okay, so the circle centered at A. So I'm still using the compass tool. I'm going to use this compass tool, and I'm going to click on A and B, and now I have a circle that's the same radius as this one up here. And I might as well put it down here on E. There we go. Cool. So, ta-da! Now, the question is, how is the digital compass tool the same, and how is it different from a physical compass? Now, when we look for a physical compass, what we're looking for is one of these guys, right? One of these guys right here, right? You stick the pointy end in the circle, in the paper, and it stays nailed down, right? That's the center. And then you rotate it around with this pencil end, and it makes a circle, right? This is the radius from here to there. And we set the radius, and we draw the circle, right? All right, cool. So in that way, they are the same, right? That's how they're the same, okay? How is it different? Well, if you draw a circle with the physical compass tool, you can't do stuff like this. You can't like change the size of your radius and change the size of the circle. And you also, you can't, like, once you've drawn it, it's drawn. It's locked in, right? You can't change stuff. But digitally, you can. You can go back and change things. This is especially useful when you're doing like graphic design. You're like, oh, could you make that circle a little smaller? It's like, sure, no problem. And you shrink it down, right? And but if you were only working on paper and pencil, you'd be like, man, I have to erase everything and then redraw. Yeah. So anyway, okay. All right. So we are going to create an equilateral triangle. Okay. Equilateral means equal sides, all equal sides. Equilateral means equal sides. Equiangular means all equal angles. Okay? Equilateral means equal sides. Equiangular means all equal angles. We're going to make an equilateral triangle, and then we're going to talk about how we know whether or not it's equilateral. All right. So if I make just any old triangle and I try to make it equilateral, all right, wait a minute. All right, I'm just sort of like approximating. I'm like, maybe it's there. Don't know. Well, one thing that I can do is I can be sure whether something is equilateral or not by using the compass tool. So here we go. If I go like this and like this, okay, I know that BC, it's not exactly the same, right? Let me make another circle, same size exactly, right? And now I can go and I can put an intersection point right here. And I know for sure that this triangle here, triangle BCD, is exactly equilateral. Well, how do I know that? This one up here is not. The green one, ABC, is not. This one is, because if you look at it, BC is a radius for our left circle, the one centered at B, and BD is also a radius for that same circle, right? If I were spinning that ball around, the string stays the same length. I could stop it here at C, or I could stop it here at D. The string is the same length. So BC is the same as BD. Now, let's look at it from the other side, right? Let's say the circle is spinning around this way, right? The ball is spinning around circle C. Circle C has this radius of BC, and it has a radius of CD. Again, these two edges, BC and CD, have to be the same. Well, if we know that BC is the same as CD and BC is the same as BD, then CD and BD also have to be the same. That means that this side here, CD, BC, right here, and BD are all the same. That means that this is an equilateral triangle. This one is not, because look, BC is a certain length. AC is just a little bit short because it doesn't make it all the way out to the edge, right? It doesn't make it all the way out to the edge of the circle from the center. And AB, that's also too short. It doesn't make it out to the edge of this circle. So no go, right? It's not equilateral. The only way that we can make sure that it's equilateral is if point A was exactly on that intersection. Now here's the thing. How do I test it? Well, easy. All I have to do is move a point. Notice that point BCD, doesn't matter how I move this, triangle BCD, this one down here, it stays equilateral. If I move this around, look, ABC is no longer, it's not even close to equilateral. Remember that point A is not nailed down. It wasn't an intersection point. So be aware of how you use these tools. The intersection tool makes sure that it's nailed down exactly at the intersection. All right, we are going to skip this one right here. And because there are some more tools, but we're not going to get into them quite yet, okay? We're not going to get into them quite yet. All right, so this part down here is the practice. You need to get on that. That is this section here, practice problems. So walk through all these problems. Remember what just happened here, right? And that's about it. Oh, one thing I wanted to go through. If something is both equiangular and equilateral, it's considered regular. The regular polygon tool only makes stuff that is, so actually we can go back down to this bottom section here. And if we go to the regular polygon tool right here, and I go like this, right? It will give me something where all edges and all angles are perfectly equal. No matter what. And if I move something around, it stays a perfect square, or it stays a perfect an equilateral, equiangular, regular triangle. Okay? That's the difference between a regular polygon tool and the polygon tool. Right? So if I decide, I'm going to just move this. Can't do that with this one. Right? As soon as I do that, here, because I use the polygon tool, I can stretch it. The regular polygon tool won't let me. It keeps it all the same size and all the same angle. Okay? So that is the answer basically to this one, because we didn't talk about that one. Okay? All right. But that should help you with some of these other questions. All right. There you go.